Hi there everybody and welcome back to another stock analysis video. Today I would actually like to analyze for the third time the company Nvidia. Now we've gone through this company as I said before in the past, and every single time I analyze it, guys, the price just keeps getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and closer to my target share prices. Now I know I've done this one 3 times already. However, I have made a couple changes here and there to the calculator, and I want to see if those changes change anything to this company. And also the fact that within the past 2 days, like even today, the 23rd of May and Friday, chip makers have actually been falling off the cliff recently. So I want to see how that impacted the target share prices to see if we may even consider this as well. And also seeing that Nvidia is coming out with earnings on Wednesday after close, let's see if we consider this a buy now. We're going to start off with the dividend summary. Guys, dividend yield of, look at this, 0.1%. One of the tiniest dividend yields out there, which ends up being around 4 cents per share for an annual payout of 16 cents. Payout ratio, guys, it's not that big. Honestly, like, it's not even surprising because, again, it's a really tiny dividend yield. Not a dividend play, but nonetheless, payout ratio of 3.6% and a 5-year growth rate of 4.65%. Again, not that good. It's very, very small for Nvidia being the company that it is. Now, the fact that the dividend growth has been 0 years is a little bit concerning, but seeing that all of these other metrics don't really say much for a dividend play, it doesn't really matter if this is a 0 growth when it comes to their dividend. Now, their ex-dividend day, however, was as of March 2nd, payout date was March 24th, and they pay their dividends quarterly. Coming now to the spreadsheet, we got the ticker symbol of NVDA, market cap of $423.1 billion. PE, guys, of 43.93. Oh dear lord, so with a 43.93 PE and the current share price of $168.98, it's telling me that this is still overpriced. And let me just show you guys exactly what I mean. I'm going to post right now a picture as to where I last analyzed this company, and just to show all of you guys how much this company has dropped. We are here at the yearly graph when it comes to Nvidia, and you can see the peak was $333. Now, I'm pretty certain that they did have a stock split. However, this is taking into account the stock split. And look at this, $333 all the way down to $168 right now as it currently stands. This is just another example, guys, as to when you overvalue a company, it will come back down to its fundamentals. A company like Nvidia, or any company in general, cannot trade at a PE of 43.93 for very long. In fact, it's 43.93 now at $169, right? Imagine what it was at 333. That was just incredible. In fact, I think even when I analyzed it, it was even higher, and you guys will be able to see the PE as well with that. Now coming over here to the annual dividends per share, we just saw is 16 cents, which is nothing. This comes out to be $401 million being paid out in dividends every single year. And even with this pay, guys, even with this dividend, with their 5-year average free cash flow, they're still left with a whopping $4.2 billion in their 5-year average free cash flow after this dividend is paid. This comes out to be a payout ratio of 8.66%. I do not understand why they don't increase this dividend and continue to increase their dividend growth. I understand that they're probably using a lot of this free cash flow to reinvest in themselves to make better chips and all this stuff. However, you could just increase your dividend by a penny and then you would still get that 1 year added on to the dividend growth. Now coming over here to the fundamentals, starting of course with the net income 5 years ago of $3 billion to 1 year ago, guys, of, look at this, $9.8 billion. That is an increase of 220% on the net income. Now, the fact here is that, well, this is an outlier right here, the 1 year ago mark. And we see that mainly because of the fact that, well, within the past 5, 4, 3, 2 years, it's been roughly around the $3 billion mark on average. Yet last year, it just shot up. The reason for this is, I personally think, is because of the chip shortage. We have been seeing a huge major chip shortage to the point that even consoles like the PlayStation 5 has been eluding people because it is just so rare, because chips are just nowhere to be found, and even laptops are very, very difficult to find as well. So I think that's the main reason why their net income is this high. Once this chip shortage actually calms down, which I don't think it's going to come down anytime soon because, well, everything is just going up in price, right? So I don't think this is going to come down anytime soon. I do foresee their net income coming down as well. Coming down to the free cash flow. Guys, the lifeblood of the company. Cash from operations, less your capital expenditures. 5 years ago of $2.9 billion to 1 year ago of $8 billion. Increase of 180% with a 5-year average free cash flow of $4.6 billion. And, well, unlike the net income, this is actually looking a little bit better in the sense that we do see it increasing year over year. However, we see a massive jump from 2 years ago of $4.7 billion to 1 year ago of $8 billion. Can this be sustainable? Again, this mainly just has to do with the entirety of the chip shortage and inflation and all this stuff. So I don't necessarily know how long this thing will last. However, right now, when it comes to all the situation that's happening, once we are over this, I do not foresee, again, the free cash flow being the way they are. And also, guys, a lot of companies are facing a lot of headwinds. So we're going to just have to wait and see what their free cash flow might be within the next couple years. And lastly, when it comes to the profit metrics, we got the revenue. 5 years ago of $9.7 billion to 1 year ago of $27 billion. Increase of 177%. And again, fairly flat from 5 to 3 years ago. A slight increase 2 years ago to $16.7 billion. And then a massive increase of almost $10 billion 1 year ago. Same exact reason that I spoke above. Now coming over to the total assets minus the total liabilities. And as you guys can see here, currently they have $26.6 billion in total assets minus liabilities. And something that's really going good for them is the fact that they have been increasing this year over year. Average total assets is around $26.5 billion. Average total liabilities around $10 billion. Doing the average assets minus the average liabilities, we get around $16.5 billion. Now coming to a metric that a lot of companies tend to fail, and that is the shares outstanding. A very overlooked metric, and this is the silent killer when it comes to investing because companies can just issue this and say nothing about it. So you want to watch out for this because you want a company to be buying back their shares. Now, as you can see right here, fairly surprising, Nvidia is actually not buying back their shares. They're issuing 5 years ago of 2.4 billion shares to today of 2.5 billion shares. Now, even though this is an increase, it is a small increase of 3.38%. And from the previous year to the current year, it is an increase of a little bit more than 1%. Now, even though, guys, this is an increase like of 3.38, I think the main reason why they did this is because they probably realized that their stock price was just so incredibly overpriced that they were like, you know what, let's just issue shares. Let's not take on debt. Instead of taking on debt, let's just issue shares. And that way, no skin off our back. We pay a tiny small dividend. It doesn't matter if we issue a little bit more shares just to cover our debts. It's fine. We don't even have that big of a dividend. I think that's the reason why they did it. And, well, can you really blame them? Not necessarily. However, I would like for them to start buying back shares in the future. And lastly, looking at the cash equivalents, currently have around $2 billion with an average cash around $3.4 billion. Now, time to make some assumptions, low, median, high, using 3 different factors: revenue growth, predicted share buyback, and the required rate of return. Guys, revenue growth, I like to use Seeking Alpha's growth tab. You're looking at the revenue growth year over year and the revenue growth forward and making an assumption, a conservative assumption, between those two numbers. For the predicted share buyback, we just saw the shares outstanding graph, so I'm going to be using that as reference. And for the required rate of return, I'm going to keep it at 10% to match the S&P 500 on the best years. So for the low assumption, let's say a revenue growth of 15%, predicted share buyback of -2%, which means that they will continue to issue shares at -2% within the next 4 years. This comes out to be, guys, a target share price not adjusting for debt of $69.84. For the median assumption, let's say a growth of 18%, predicted share buyback of 0, meaning that they will not be issuing any shares or buying back within the next 4 years either. And this actually comes out to be $78.36. And lastly, from a highest assumption, revenue growth of 21%, predicted share buyback of 2%. This comes out to be $87.76. Now let's adjust for debt. And the reason why we do this is because we want to take a company's full entire value, and debt takes away from the company's value, right? So the way we do this is we take the cash equivalent and we add the net debt. And then we add that to the market cap that the discounted free cash flow calculator comes up with, and then divide that by the total number of shares that they currently have, and then project that into the future as well using the predicted share buyback. So in doing so, we get a target share price of $140.46 for the low assumption, essentially showing us that this company has a lot more cash on hand than they do debt. For the median assumption, it is $157.52, and for the high assumption, it is $176.33. Now, I personally like to add a margin of safety, 5, 10, and 15%, just so that way I don't overpay for something, so that way I have a cushion if anything bad were to happen. God forbid, something happens with Taiwan and we no longer get our chips from Taiwan, right? So you want to cover for all bases. So for a margin of safety of 5, 10, and 15%, for the low assumption, I would like to buy at $119.39 to $133.43. For the median assumption, $133.89 to $149.64. And from a highest assumption, between $150 roughly to $167.51. Guys, the current share price is $168.98, essentially $169. So with all of these assumptions, the closest one that we got here is the target share price adjusting for debt for the highest assumption. So we only got one green number here that we would essentially like to buy this company at. However, as it stands, this is not financial advice. In fact, I actually have this calculator available for free. Anybody can have it, and you guys should make your own assumptions because, again, every investment is the present value of all future cash flow. My assumptions may be different than yours. For example, you might think that Nvidia might actually buy back shares, I don't know, at like 5%, and you think that they're actually going to start growing at a massive rate of like, I don't know, 50%, right, year over year. Well, then at that point, you are at $203 for the target share price, not adjusting for debt, and $407 adjusting for debt. So at that point, you would essentially just be pretty good to buy this company, and you would be making a 10% return at this rate if they were to grow at 50% within the next 4 years. However, I personally do not believe this, but just because I don't believe that doesn't necessarily mean that you guys have to follow my numbers. You shouldn't follow my numbers. As I said, I have this calculator available for free. Anybody can have it. It's in my calculators video. There's a link in the description to a spreadsheet. Go in there, you make a copy, and you make your own assumptions. I also have a book value calculator as well for companies that don't have capital expenditures like banks, as well as utilities and all of that stuff. And I also have a dividend tracking sheet with a video on how to set it up and videos on how to set up all these calculators as well. I'm giving out these free things, guys, and all I'm asking for in return is help me grow my channel. Thank you so much for 600 plus subscribers. I'm gonna keep saying that until we reach 700 probably, and then I'll switch to 700. And nonetheless, thank you very much. Hit that like button, hit that bell, hit that subscribe, and just help me grow. That's pretty much it. I'll try to get my real estate calculator, my REIT calculator done this weekend. Hopefully I'll have that out with a video on how to do it as well, so be on the lookout for that. Now let's take a look at this company when it comes to the dividends at the current share price. Now, obviously, they don't pay a good enough dividend, but let's just entertain this for a second. If you were to put in 1 month's income at the average US income of $68,703, which is $5,725 monthly, well, this would actually buy you 33.88 shares, and at the current annual dividends per share, this will only get you $5.42 annually, $1.36 quarterly, and 45 cents monthly. Yeah, there are better ones out there, guys. Do not focus on this one when it comes to a dividend. Not worth it. All in all, when it comes to Nvidia, it's a solid company, guys. Like, I love my chips. I think chip makers are my favorite kind of industry. My favorite company is AVGO, and they have fallen. Oh my god, they have fallen. So when it comes to chip makers, I love them. Nvidia, it's a classic, right? I mean, the Nvidia graphics card's amazing. It's the staple when it comes to graphic cards. It's amazing. So as it stands, they do have a pretty good moat. I personally don't know any other company that makes specific graphics card. I guess AMD, but they're mainly pretty much all over the place when it comes to tech. You know, they make processors, they make all this stuff. So it really just shows that Nvidia is mainly focused on graphics cards, which the more focused they are on a specific product, the better they can actually improve it. So as it stands, Nvidia, really good solid company, a little bit expensive for me right now. When it comes to dividend play, not worth it. Not even worth it in the slightest. Maybe if this thing falls like 50 bucks, you know, it might happen. To all of those of you who say, oh, it can't fall any further, it went from 333 to 169. That's all I'm going to say. That pretty much is for this video. Like if you like, comment, subscribe. It really does help here with the algorithm on YouTube. You guys can follow me on my TikToks at BitChute, Odyssey, and Rumble. I also have a Let's Play channel. The link is in the description for all of those. So if you want to see that, you can see that there as well. With that said, peace out and be on the lookout for the next stock analysis video. Tomorrow is going to be insane.